Come on in, pull up a chair, and take a load off because today I will be reviewing and paging through the Pathfinder 2nd Edition Advanced Player's Guide from Paizo Inc. So, is this a must have treasure trove of new ancestries and backgrounds, character classes and feats, spells and items, and so much more? Or is this simply overflowing with so much minutia, it's bound to confuse and confound all but the most passionate of Pathfinder players? Well, you're going to find out right after this. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. As I mentioned in the open, I am going to be reviewing and paging through the Pathfinder 2nd Edition Advanced Player's Guide in just a moment. But before I do so, let me remind you that if you like this video, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already, and if you do subscribe, ring that notification bell, because not only will it inform you when I upload videos such as this, it'll also let you know when my live stream, The Daily Dope, airs Monday through Thursday nights right here on YouTube as I bring you the latest in tabletop gaming news. Finally, before we jump in, do want to mention the fine folks over at Paizo Inc. did provide me with a review copy, but neither I nor anyone else has received any other sort of compensation for me to share my thoughts on the Pathfinder 2nd Edition Advanced Player's Guide from Paizo Inc. It's written by Logan Bonner, Liz Liddell, and Mark Siefter. This 272-page hardcover is available right now for $49.99, or you can snag it in PDF for the smashing price of only $14.99. Let's swing on over to the other camera here because, ta-da, there we have the Advanced Player's Guide. So let's jump on in here. I'm going to kind of really quickly page through this, just kind of show you all that's jam-packed in this book and kind of talk a little bit about some of this. So first of all, we've got some new ancestries. We've got some new classes. We've got plenty of new feats and spells and items. So as I mentioned in the in the intro, it is a treasure trove of goodies here. So we've got some new ancestries. I got to be honest, I probably would not use 3 of these. First of all, we've got the cat folk. So discussing the different cat folk and their folk, I should say, and their ancestry feats. The kobold, I really do like the kobold ancestry here. I am pleased to see that the smaller creatures such as goblins and kobolds are not just simply automatically assumed to be evil creatures anymore. So we've got those ancestry feats. I do also find it interesting that how many players don't realize when Dungeons and Dragons first came out, and for quite a few years that advanced D&D was around, kobolds weren't lizard folk. They had no relation to dragons whatsoever. They were actually dog-faced creatures, more kind of along the lines like gnolls. So we've got the orcs as far as that ancestry, and rat folk. Another I probably would not necessarily include myself personally, because I'm not necessarily into the anthropomorphic animal sort of vibe. Pugmire jumps to mind. I know a lot of people like that, the Pugmire setting. I don't know. And then we also have the Tengu, which, of course, are bird folk, which, once again, I don't think would actually make it into my gaming. But I'm not knocking them. It's just not my style. We have these versatile heritages, which I think are actually pretty cool, because anybody can have these. All they have to do is effectively just toss out the heritage that they get from their own ancestry, and they can replace it with these. We've got some planar scions as well. So I thought this was very cool. I can really see that Pathfinder 2nd Edition is kind of trying to steer into an area where anything goes as far as your character creation. And I know a lot of people out there are going to be very, very excited by that. So we do have some new ancestry feats, some additional ancestry feats for some of the core ancestries here. We'll also see that as far as some new feats with the character classes as well. We get some common backgrounds. We got some new backgrounds, rare backgrounds, and then we get into the new classes. So we've got the investigator, the oracle, the swashbuckler, and the witch. So the investigator is sort of an action-styled Sherlock Holmes, where you're, I know I'm just tossing Sherlock Holmes out there, but you're really someone who is investigating mysteries, trying to get to the truth. The whodunit feats at level 8. Also, we do see, I think that was the corner is the first one. Yeah. We'll also get some samples as well. So we get a coroner, a chemist. Then we have the oracle, who is a magic user, but they do not actually garner their spells, their magical powers through a specific entity. So here we have the flame augur, the life bringer as our examples here as well. So we get into our feats, just kind of zipping along. We've got the swashbuckler. So as opposed to your traditional martial characters, swashbuckler is more focused on panache and dexterity and sort of an Errol Flynn. Yes, I know most people out there probably have no idea who Errol Flynn is. Let's just say he was an actor from old Hollywood who starred in a lot of movies with a lot of fencing. So also played Robin Hood. So we've got the gymnast. We've got speaking of fencing right there, the fencer. And then we've got the witch. So the witch actually garners her power through nature and a mysterious entity that even the witch may not necessarily know exactly what that is. As you can see, the book has plenty of artwork all throughout. So we've got an example here. We've got the hedge witch. We have another one back there. Or was there only one? Oh, I think there was only one. So now we start getting into some additional feats for some of the classes from the core rulebook. So the alchemist, the barbarian. Barbarian gets a bunch of new feats. And a lot of them are actually pretty cool. Follow-up assault. Silencing strike. We get the bard. We get the champion. Also talks about evil champions. So you can be a champion of evil, which obviously enough this depicts right here. So there are some new champion feats, and some focusing more on champions of evil. We've got the cleric, we got the druid, the fighter, the monk. Once again, the monk gets quite a few new feats as well. We've got the ranger and the rogue, as well as the wizard. I'm sorry, I should say sorcerer. And then the wizard. So lots of new goodies. We get a little section here about animal companions as well as familiars. It's not a ton of info. We've got just some specific familiars there as well. Now we get into the archetypes. So we've got some new archetypes. We also have archetypes which are based on new classes as well. So for an example, investigator, swashbuckler, oracle, right there, right? The witch. So we've got quite a few of these. Just kind of zip through these real quick. The cavalier was effectively kind of a knight, not necessarily specifically a knight, but they tend to spend a lot of time on horseback or riding a mount. The gladiator. It's a pretty cool image of an orc gladiator. Loads and loads of gameable material. As I mentioned, Pathfinder 2nd Edition really is trying to dive into just a lot of options for the players. That is one thing that Pathfinder 2nd Edition, well, I got to even admit, 1st Edition as well, has over Dungeons and Dragons 5th Edition is just the sheer amount of customization that you can do for your characters. So now we get some new feats. We get some general feats that anyone can have. Some of course, quite a few do have prerequisites in that, but they are not specific to any sort of ancestry, background, or class. We get some new spells. And there's a spell that I know some folks out there are going to be happy to see, and it is Anime Dead. Necromancy. Dun, dun, dun. I know that there had been discussion by some players out there who were like, oh, hey, come on, I want to play a necromancer. There was no Anime Dead spell. Well, now there is. So we get quite a few new spells here. So folks will be happy to see this, because I know sometimes we see some Pathfinder releases that promise new spells, and we only get a handful. Here we get a good number of new spells. And as I mentioned, we've got some necromancy spells as well. So just kind of zipping through here real quick. And then finally, we're going to have some new items as well. There we go. So we get a little section talking about crafting and treasure. So we've got some new weapons, some new treasure types, treasure tables as well. Alchemical items, or alchemal items, as some people will also pronounce that. Some magic consumables with new potions, magic items and runes. And we get a glossary and index. And a quick peek at the OGL at the end. So that is all 272 pages of the Pathfinder Advanced Player's Guide. Let me swing on over to the other camera and I will provide my final thoughts as well as my review score. As you can see, this book is packed with player options and more character classes, more ancestries, more backgrounds, more spells. It's just loaded with a lot of goodies out there. And I know modern role players really do enjoy just carefully crafting their player characters. And this brings loads and loads to the table for them to custom craft nearly any sort of character that they would like. Yes, of course, there's limits, right? There's limits to the imagination of what they can create, but just about any sort of fantasy, high fantasy role-playing game character that they've considered concocting can be created with the Advanced Player's Guide and Core Rulebook. I think Paizo's done a fantastic job. Is this a must-have for people who are completely happy with playing just with the core rulebook and the bestiary? No, you don't need to have this book. It's a role-playing game. I mean, really, once you have a core rulebook, you don't need to have any other books. But I can really highly recommend picking up the Advanced Player's Guide for those out there who really want to just deconstruct and reconstruct the kind of characters that they want to play with. This book is fantastic. I really got to say, it is fantastic. And if you are playing Pathfinder 2nd Edition, you probably want to have a copy of it, or at least your game master can get a copy of it so all of the players can utilize it. Something else I do want to mention is that this book can be utilized for people playing other fantasy role-playing game systems. You can easily port a lot of this information over, especially if the game you're utilizing has any sort of feats system whatsoever. Also have to mention that the PDF is really, really nicely priced. You figure this is a $49.99 hardcover, which is pretty standard. It's a good value. Got a lot of gaming material in here. But you can also get the PDF for $14.99. So for those out there who might be, on a serious budget like most of us, and maybe you don't consider the Advanced Player's Guide to be crucial to your gaming, keep in mind you can pick it up for $15 in PDF. I think that's a pretty sweet deal on what is essentially what Paizo Inc. is considering to be another core volume for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. All in all, on a scale of 1 to 10, I give the Pathfinder 2nd Edition Advanced Player's Guide an extremely solid 9.5 out of 10. I think it's that good, and you really should take a peek at it. All right, that is it for this time out. Once again, let me remind you, if you like this video, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ring that notification bell, because it'll not only let you know when I upload videos such as this review, it'll also tell you when my live stream, The Daily Dope, airs right here on YouTube, Monday through Thursday nights, as I bring you the latest in tabletop gaming news. Well, as I tend to wrap up my videos during this never-ending pandemic, let me once again hope that all of you out there are being smart and staying safe. I'll see you next time. Oh, you're still here. Well, once again, thank you very much for watching this video. And of course, if you'd like to subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel, click right here. And of course, if you want to see one of the latest episodes of the Daily Dope, click right on up here. And if you want to roll the dice, take your chances, see what YouTube thinks you might like from the channel, give a click right here. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer, and I'll see you next time.